Hey everybody, this is Gagok7. You haven't seen me in a while. This is because I've been too busy with my job and commission work. But on the 2nd of December 2021, I announced that I was working on a brand new video that was going to be hours long. And this is that video. So to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Mario Kart 7 releasing throughout most of the planet, I couldn't think of anything better than to do an interview with the player that was the first to reach a maximum online rating of 99,999 VR, which is also the player that has set a world record on every single full year of this game has existed. Also the player that has the most world records in this game of all. One of the best, probably the best Mario Kart 7 player ever. Jacob. Alright, so for the next 3 hours, I will be conducting an interview focused on him, reflecting on the past 10 years from his perspective, and we will be doing that as friends. So, you might find a little banter going off topics or the role reversing, and let's just have a good time. It's just gonna be friends talking for a long while. This interview will be split in 4 phases. At first, we'll be doing some general chit-chat. Hey, how's the past 10 years been? Then Jacob will tell us a unique story of every single track that he has set a world record on, and I might ask some additional questions here and there. Thirdly, we will reflect on Jacob's past 10 years in Mario Kart 7, what went good, what went bad. And lastly, we'll have a little chat about the future. So I hope you enjoy what's coming your way, and let's get started. Though do be informed that I had just recovered from the flu, so I was feeling a bit down. You could maybe hear it in my voice, but I had a good time, and I hope you guys will have it too listening to this. So let's get started. Hope you enjoy. Alright everyone, I have Jacob on the phone with me. Say hello for me.
Hey guys.
Yeah, so we'll be conducting the interview now. This will be the first phase, and let's just have some general chit chat. How are you? How have you been? So let's start off with the first question. You can answer this one very broadly, and at any point you can ask the question back to me if you're interested in knowing my answer for the same question. So, very broadly, how has the past 10 years been for you?
Well, 10 years is a huge time frame to work with. So 10 years ago, I was a senior in high school and just enjoying life. And then I went into university, studied there for a bit longer than necessary because I was lost. I didn't know what career I wanted, so I went in unmajored at first, and then I tried biology, didn't like that, and then I switched to math. And during that same time where I switched majors, a lot of tragedy struck throughout my life, and this was in 2015 for reference. This is when my mom got sick. This is when family members were passing away. So it just was dark times, and it just continued on. The suffering and the pain and the agony continued on for years and years and years. So during that time, memory's kind of a blur because it was just so stressful, and I was very depressed all the time. I did finally manage to finish university in 2018, graduated, but after that I was stuck on the unemployment line, couldn't find any work, and part of me didn't want to because my responsibility was still to be at home to take care of family. I just thought that was my priority. But then very recently things have changed. A lot of my family is doing much better. They're not as sick every day anymore. They're happy and they're laughing, which is good. And I did find work eventually, and so that's what I'm currently doing. And my priorities are very much focused on that. So that's a brief update on my life in 10 years. So how about you?
Well, first of all, you've been through some dark stuff, and I'm so glad to have you 10 years later talking to me. Just before I answer, I want to say that. For me, yeah, it's life. I'm the same age as you, so 16 to 26, we're covering that very broadly. Yeah, it's life ups and downs, mental health issues, but I think things are going up right now. I've met some, the most interesting thing about my life is that I've met some interesting ladies that all turned me down, unfortunately. You know, but so be it. I've learned some things, and I will go, if you want, into this a little bit later, if you want. I've joined the fighting games community, and that has really opened my world to me. Mario Kart is played in your room, but the fighting game community is played everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere and in person. It's definitely a new experience for sure.
Alright, so that's very broadly my and your life. How has Mario Kart affected your life? Has it made you happy, and do people maybe recognize you on the street?
Unfortunately, no. Mario Kart is not popular enough for me to be recognized in life, and I don't even think my family knows.
Oh wow.
So it's always just been a pastime for me playing this game. I do it for no other reason than because it makes me, I'm proud of what I've done, and I just want to continue to extend my legacy. I think the main reason why I still play, despite how much I've gone through and what I'm currently doing, you would think that I should just put all my attention to that and my family, but I still dedicate some time to Mario Kart because I'm very honored to say that I can be the best at something. Because in life, I mean, there's so many people out there that are so smart and they're talented and they're gifted, and they make a huge difference in this world, and I'll never be like them. Or some people are like athletically gifted as well. Can't forget about them.
Yeah.
I'll never be like them. I'm just a normal person, just like everyone else is. The majority is, and so to play Mario Kart 7 and say that I'm the best, it's a great feeling.
Yeah,
as little as it actually means. Yeah. So
I understand the part in the middle where you talked about, there's so many smart people that really make a difference. But at least you and I can say we are the best at something. We put our focus and efforts in something, and we can be proud of that.
Exactly.
So for me personally, I do get recognized in the streets, sort of. So there's been the Summoning Salt. He made a full history of all Rainbow Roads in history.
Right.
And sometimes it happens that my match at a fighting game tournament gets called. So it's like Gogoku versus Jacob at setup 3. That's over the venue speaker. It has happened to me that someone would walk up to me and like, "Oh, are you Gogoku? Hi, nice to meet you. I've seen the documentary. I'm a fan." Oh, and that was crazy flattering.
But yeah, you got. I forgot about that video. You got a ton of exposure from that. That video has like 6 million views or something. Last I checked. So
yeah, it's amazing.
It's still a bit surprising because the world is so huge. There's so many people, but I think that video definitely helped.
Yeah,
helped you get a little more fame than what you normally would have had. So
definitely,
that's very cool, though. That's very cool. If you don't mind the attention and random strangers walking up to you, then
yeah, it's actually like really big figures of other communities. For example, RuneScape would actually recognize me in other discords from that video. So you have played for a long time, but who really inspired you to play? Is there someone you can point to?
I would say generally no, because I don't really play for others. I play for my own self-satisfaction. But I would say in recent years, because of where my life was, I would say just all my close friends. I mean, they motivated me and they were pushing me to go beyond my limits. So this is mainly coming from like 2017 and onward when I met Yassine. He's always been one of my dearest friends, and he was always the one who would say, "You should get Mario Circuit back. You should get Shiger Bazaar back. You should do this. You should do that." and I just kept listening to him and believing in him. Because if he believed in me, then what excuse did I have? I should be able to prove his point and return, and that's exactly what I did. So to answer your question, I would say closest friends definitely are a huge motivator and inspiration for me to continue playing.
Right, right. And are you naturally good at games? Like, do you start it up and in like 2 hours you're very good at it?
I would say so. It depends on the game, though. If it's very complex, then yeah, I'm gonna take a few days to learn it. But in general, like even just some standard board games, new games that we get for the family, I learn them pretty quickly, and I learn how to play them at the best. Even though there's like no competitive strategy for the games, but I still try to just be a master at everything, and I can do it pretty well. So usually when I play with my family, I come out victorious, but they still manage to win, and that's what makes it fun at the end. Is the unpredictability of some games. So, and
Right.
as far as video games is concerned, video games it's kind of the same thing. Like I'm pretty good at Smash Brothers. I wouldn't say I'm one of the best because obviously they're insane at top level, but I'm still pretty good. Like I'm better than the average. So
All right. For me, it's quite the opposite. I'm very bad with a very slow learning curve. That's why Rainbow Road just took so long. And how did you get into Mario Kart and or speedrunning in general?
well, I got into Mario Kart by playing F-Zero GX first. That was like the first game that I discovered a time attack or time trial, and I just grew fascinated from there. And this is, back almost 15 years ago. So I was just a little kid. I didn't know what speedrunning was. I didn't know that there were any gaming communities out there. I was just playing just to have fun as a kid, and racing against ghosts and trying to beat your ghost has always been just something to enjoy. It's always a journey that I enjoy. So, and that just transitioned to Mario Kart Wii when that game released in 2008. So, and the rest is history. So,
And what other games do you love? Do you love the speed gaming aspect of? Be it not in the Mario Kart franchise or in the F Zero franchise?
not really that I'm playing at the moment, because again, at the moment, I'm more focused on my life, and games are just a pastime, something to enjoy with friends, or just a time trial. And the game that I'm time trialing is Mario Kart 7. It is the one game that I'm not going to let go anytime soon. And I feel like if I tried to speed run any other racing games or any game in general, that's just going to affect my ability to play Mario Kart 7 at a top level. So I just avoid it. But I
Right.
do still watch a lot of speedruns of various games, racing or not, and they're all enjoyable.
Which one's your favorite to watch?
I would say some of the classic ones. So Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Ocarina of Time. It's very impressive.
Mhm.
All the glitches that are in that game. I don't know how they pull it off, but they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely my favorite. Has always been Mario 64. I used to wake up at 10 years old, very early on the weekend, to see if a new tool assisted run had been released that I could watch and be amazed at. um, any other games you just enjoy? Non competitive, non speed running?
Mario Party. I usually, back when we were younger, me and my brother used to play Mario Party all the time, and it's always very fun, just for its chaotic nature. So I would say that, and there's other games, Kirby and Metroid. I'm a Nintendo fan, by the way. I don't really pay attention to other gaming companies out there. I'm
Right,
probably missing out, but that's just the choice that I've made. So
right. Yeah, it's same for me, just Nintendo. And recently I've been playing RuneScape, which it's the old meme, old game, but the combat in it is absolutely amazing. The skill ceiling goes infinitely high, and I hope other people can enjoy that game too. What do you do like in life besides playing Mario Kart? Are you comfortable talking a little bit about that?
Well, if I must be brutally honest, before I was hired, I really wasn't doing much because it just depended on how well my family was, how good was their health. If their health was good, then sure, we would go out maybe to eat at a restaurant, or we would play some billiards. And because of their health as well, our financial situation has deteriorated over the years. We've lost a lot of money, and we can barely afford just to pay monthly bills. So we used to very often go on vacation, and we all love to travel. We all love exploring new areas of the world, and we just can't do that anymore. So that's usually restricted to once a year. So once a year, we would go out and just enjoy what the world has to offer and kind of escape from reality for a bit. So, um, but now that I am hired, I'm just busy with that. I mean, I'm just it sounds boring, but that's pretty much all I do.
All right. I'll give my answer to the question, and then we'll move on to the next phase. I finished school. I'm very glad I learned a skill that companies want, and that maybe friends or people with ideas for a startup company want. I'm now a software engineer, and in my own free time during the weekends, I am part of the fighting game community, and I'm part of as their tournament streaming crew. So I have a lot of equipment surrounding me, video equipment mostly, and I bring that almost every week to a tournament, and then I'll stream the tournament for the people for a little bit of money, a little bit of payment, and I'm very glad to be doing that right now.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very, very cool.
All right, everyone. Now we are in phase 2 of this interview, and I will be asking Jacob to go over every single track that he has set a world record on and tell us a story of what getting that world record was like, or what particulars he did on that track. Maybe we can get some cool insights. So Jacob, let's start with the very first track you set a world record on, which was Rosalina's Ice World. Tell me about that track. What was it like? Anything. Go for it.
All right, go for it. You say when it was over 9 years ago at this point. I don't remember exactly why I wanted to play that track, but just to give a brief history, so didn't buy the game. My parents bought the game for me for Christmas, so December 2011.
Yeah.
And so for the first month or two, I was just learning the game. I wasn't that good at it. And I was mainly just playing with friends from Mario Kart Wii. So people who were on my friend list in that game, they were playing Mario Kart 7 as well. And so I was just playing with them. And that's all I was doing for the first few months of the game, just playing online. So like I said, I don't remember why I played time trials other than I just wanted one world record, and that was it. I had no interest playing time trials at all at the time, and I was just looking through, and Rosalie's Ice World just kind of appealed to me, maybe because it was very weak and unoptimized,
Right.
and it just seemed like if I can just pull off this shortcut good, I'll have a free world record, and that's all I did. So 155.724. It doesn't even have a video, unfortunately. I wish it did in hindsight, but I immediately improved to a 700, and I just recorded that from there. I do remember that one had like a 37 split for lap 3, which was very impressive at the time.
Okay.
So again, I don't remember why I continued, because if my goal was just to get one world record, then that's all I needed to do. Just get the 724 or get the 700 and call it a day. But I did improve a few more times. I guess mainly because I knew that there was still a lot of room to improve, and some things never change. That's how I feel today. That's what motivates me today. The time trial is whenever I see flaws, I want to improve it, and I just want to make it as perfect as possible. So I did improve eventually to a 155, 145, and after that I stopped because at that point I was going for max VR. I was playing worldwides every single day for anywhere between 5 to 8 hours,
Mhm.
and so the grind started then, and that's why you see a gap from May to like August, because by August 19th, that's when I reached max VR.
And you picked it up again in September. What happened from there? You also beat someone that used a glitch. Tell us about that.
So after max VR, I improved at the game tremendously. I learned the optimal combo, which is Metal Mario, B Dasher, and Red Monster tires, and I just wanted to transition that to time trials. I had a new interest in it. If I was the first Max VR player, why am I not a war record holder in this game? And so I returned, and that's when I beat someone named Santos on Rosalina's Ice World again, and that was the start of a almost 2 year reign on that track.
Correct.
And I just expanded from there. I played Dino Jungle and I learned slick tires, which was not hard to do because the two tires are very similar.
Yeah.
And when I beat Alexoni on Dino Jungle, I didn't have any competition there for a year. So nothing really noteworthy there. I just continued to improve and show why I'm one of the best players.
Mm-hmm.
And then, according to the history site, oh yes, I did on October 29th defeat Alactorn on Bowser's Castle, and that started legit still to this day the longest reign in this game's history. It's soon to be overtaken, but I'm still pretty proud of that little footnote.
Mm-hmm.
And that one in particular, I do remember how hard that was. I stayed it would I stayed awake until 3 in the morning on a school night. So I believe October 29th is actually a Monday. That's
Okay.
how well I remember this. So yeah, I just wanted it so badly though, and I definitely popped off when I got that one. So see why Bowser's Castle means a lot to me. Because not eventually, very quickly, I learned just how fun that track is to play. I think it's still one of the best tracks to drive if you know how to drive it.
Right, right. So let's go back to Rosalina's Ice World and then we'll get into Bowser's Castle more in detail. So you finished at 153, 153. That's a nice time.
Yeah,
And
which is that was over a year later during that. So I was talking about 2012 stuff. We jump ahead 1 year, and I get a 153, 153. I was definitely very happy about that. I'm sorry I can't really share any more details besides I was very happy because, again, that was over 8 years ago. I don't really remember all my feelings at the time and why I kept going,
right.
other than that I just knew that that's the time I could reach. I knew I can get that. And obviously the digits 153, 153, that's pretty satisfying. So
Right.
that was a good time to stop for me. And that record lasted almost a year until Toad beat it with mushroom tires. And when he did that, Mark 8 was released. So that was one reason why I wasn't playing. But second reason was mushroom tires. I really don't like mushroom tires. I think they're very just awkward to control. It feels like a new game when you play with them.
True.
And because he beat me, I just automatically assumed that mushroom tires were superior on that track. and so that just killed everything for me. That I just had no desire to play that track anymore, and it showed because I didn't return until this year.
Right. And let's talk about this year when a new water skipping trick was discovered. You came back. What was that like? Returning after so long.
So yeah, by this year and probably like a few years before, that's when we really learned that taking the underwater with Red Monster is really slow compared to driving on, the ground. And so it just seemed natural to implement that. Go the top route. We also assumed that the top route was slower because the water boost is a pretty powerful trick in this game.
Yep.
Saves a lot of time, but apparently it doesn't save enough. Even though you're only underwater for a few seconds, it does make a difference. So about returning to the track, it's very funny because I still had no plans to ever return to the track. But what I was doing in late January, early February, that's when I got the record. So a couple days before that, I was just testing out custom music for the first time. And one of the tracks was Rosalina's Ice World. And I happened to just drive a 37.1 on my very first try on lap 3. And as soon as I did that, I was like, all right, I can get the world record back. I just immediately knew it reinvigorated me to play the track again. And that's exactly what I did. It was hard. I kept failing a lot of amazing paces, and the record that I ended up with, which was a 152.485.
Yep.
And I was happy for the record, but that was pretty disappointing for me. I could have done so much better. My best splits gave me a low 152.0, so almost the sub.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, it was a huge grind, and it paid off. And I was very relieved to get that record back and prove that Red Monster was superior all along.
Right. Now, 45 days later, MK William got a surprise record and somehow got a consistent setup for the ultra shortcut. How did it go from there? Tell us about this last streak you went on.
So throughout history with the ultra shortcut, it was just seen as random, and I was no different. I thought it was just completely random and luck based, whether you got it or not. You needed perfect alignment, you needed to turn right at the perfect moment, and you just magically, get carried by the momentum, I guess you can say,
Right.
downward, and you just save so much time from it, over a second easily. So I always thought that if someone really was using ultra shortcut at a consistently, then I would just give up from there because, how can I bother with that? It saves so much time. You can't compete unless you go for it.
True.
But as you said, William did discover a more consistent method, and that I proved that to be true. I just tried for fun his method, and I got an ultra shortcut within 15 minutes. And so I just knew from there, okay, this isn't so bad. I've done a lot worse. And so that's what I did. And it didn't take long to beat him because it was a very unoptimized at that point, considering that he only went for it twice, which is still impressive to make it twice in one run.
Right.
But we all knew that eventually it had to go down to a 3 out of 3 run. And I'm, of course, very proud to say that I did manage to do that. I was the first to do it with the 157.12, and then a massive jump to where it is currently. I improved to a 0.84, and now it sits at a 150.032.
Right, and you skipped a full second between there.
Right. Skipped the 151.
Right. And are you ever, and let's finish up on Rosalina's Ice World, are you ever going to go for the 149?
Absolutely.
All right.
No question. No question about it.
All right, looking forward to seeing that. All right, so that's Rosalina's Ice World. Now you've already done some introduction on it, the longest world record streak ever. Tell us about, tell us more about Bowser's Castle, also why you started it, and how you got it all the way down to 157.500, and then we'll go from there again.
I love that time, by the way. 157,500, just exactly 500. It was my goal at the time to get like a 500 or lower. Again, to start, it was over 9 years ago at this point. I don't remember why I played the track other than I just thought I was the best at this game and I wanted to prove a point. And what better way to prove than to play a new track and get a world record on it? And I think I was aware that the community, about the community at this time as well. And so I knew that they were all impressed with the current world record at the time, which was 073, 159.073.
Right.
So to beat that, everyone was surprised. No one saw it coming. And that just motivated me more to just continue because I didn't want to just be a surprise factor. I wanted to show that, no, I'm actually the best on this track all along. Right. So that's what I did not long after I got the first 159 sub. And details from here are foggy because I just continued to improve whenever I wanted to play the track. And that's what I did. I do remember the 158.202, which was like set in May 2013. That one was a time that I was very proud of. I believe lap 3 was at BKS. And to get that in a very solid run, I mean, that just set it for me. I was like, okay, that's good enough for me. I'm very happy with that. But as you know, I love Bowser's Castle, so I did eventually return, and I got a 158.150, but it was on a 3DS with that couldn't output audio anymore for whatever reason. So I felt at the time that recording without audio was pointless. And I just thought, I'd just improve it again, maybe on another 3DS, and just record from there, because back then you didn't need video proof. I usually, if I was not satisfied with the record, I would not record it. But then my next improvement, I would just automatically record that to document both times.
Right.
So I figured that's what I would do with the 158.150, and that didn't happen. I never played the track. Mario Kart 8 came out shortly after, half a year later, and I never touched the track again. So unfortunately, one of my only 2 records that lasted 1,000 days doesn't even have a video. So I am disappointed about that. In hindsight, very stupid of me. I should have just recorded it, even if it didn't have audio. It would have been better than nothing. So yeah. Once I came back to the game, well, first of all, I should note that my one record in 2016 for Bowser's Castle, I set that while I was still playing Mario Kart 8. I mean, a couple months later, I was still improving TikTok clock world record for the last time in Mario Kart 8. So that's pretty cool, because not many people can say that they were jumping between 2 games and setting world records on both games. So
right,
kind of reminds me of like some top level Smash Brothers players. They would jump between both games and do so well at each. So yeah, that time in 2016 was, I gotta look. Where is it?
The 068.
There it is, the 068. Yep. There's nothing special to report about that, because again, I wasn't even full time in Mario Kart 7. I was just very happy because my only records before were just Maple Treeway glitch.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to say that I can get a world record still on a track that demanded excellent driving, and it was very technical. So after that, not long after, I returned the game full time, and the natural step is to get the sub, and I finally do it. definitely a long-term goal. I knew the 157 was possible all the way back in 2013, but I just thought at the time that the track was so strong, I never could do it. But obviously, I improved from then to now in 2017. So I did get it, 157.934. And then Yassine came along, and he just motivated me to continue. And Bowser's Castle was one of those tracks that I just pushed beyond my limits. And I got the 157.717, very amazing improvement. Getting over 0.2 saved on that track is very huge. I was very happy with that time.
Yep.
So from there on, again, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I was busy with a lot of tracks, but Bowser's Castle was just always one of those tracks that I returned to eventually. And that's what I did. And when I returned to it, I just discovered, hey, it wasn't as perfect as I thought. So I just go for it. And so that's where it led me. I just kept improving, got a few 0.6s, a lot, three, I think. And then I finally got the good cut that I was looking for, saved over 0.1, and got the 157.500 exactly. And that was a good place to stop.
Right. And what are some of the things that happened or improved that could make you get it all the way from 59 to 57.5?
The key, I guess you could say, strategies for that track and how to drive it properly. Number one, the glider. At the very beginning, it's optimal to hit the boost panel at the very edge and holding up for a certain amount of frames and then holding down. That's also key. You want to hold up as long as you can, but if you hold up for too long, then your glider is gonna not go high, and you'll just lose the glider immediately, and you'll lose your run from there. So that's number one. Number two, probably the underwater section, just optimizing that. And number three is, of course, the last turn. It's very important to get a grind, or at least have it be tight in some way. If you go for the grind, especially if you try to grind early and you miss it, you end up just way wide and you lose at least 0.3 from that. And
Right.
so I don't know. I just say that the game, we all thought that it was optimized, but then it really wasn't, right? Like in 2013, everyone was saying, oh my God, your 158.202 was amazing. And turns out we were all wrong.
True.
There was still a lot to improve just from driving, just from minor optimizations. And you can just say the same thing about any track. So the minor optimizations add up, and that's why you save over a second eventually.
Right. Now, from 157.500, let's see, a couple months later, something was discovered, and you were able to push down the track for a large amount of time. What happened, and how did we show the world that for the first time?
All right. So I was good friends with Ryan at the time, and just one day out of the blue, he told me, hey, CF discovered a gap shortcut at the underwater section. And I always thought that this could be possible. Like, it just seemed, if you try just shrooming, you make it across, but you don't make it on the track. So it just seemed like, man, people are going to discover this one day, and this is going to be the reason why I lose the Bowser Castle reign. And that's exactly what happened. I'm not really happy about these improvements. Even the 156 time that we did showcase to coincide with your amazing sub 136 on Rainbow Road.
Right.
I was not happy with that time. There were so many huge fails. And I just knew that if I couldn't improve it, that someone would come along and just randomly beat me. And that's what happened. I was trying desperately for like a month, and I got this one fail, double best gnome split. and I failed the last gap shortcut due to my own fault. So I was going to make it, but I was holding up on the circle pad to land as soon as I could. And by doing that, I didn't make it across, and I failed to run that way.
Ooh.
And that was just devastating. I quit, and I think like a couple weeks later, that's when Thomas beat me, and he did a 3 out of 3 strategy, which I did not think of at the time. I thought it would be slower, because I didn't even think to grab the first 2 coins at the start, because doing that already loses like a second. So I just thought, all right, if you're gonna do a 3 out of 3 strat and you skip those coins, then you don't even have 10 coins for the full run, or you go for those coins and lose over a second. So I figured it was slower, but I was definitely wrong, very much wrong. A 3 out of 3 is much faster, and so I can't say anything about that. Thomas beat me, and that was the end of that reign. I would definitely. It's safe to say that without the gap shortcut, I probably would still have the reign, because no one was challenging me,
Mm-hmm.
and even if someone did, I was just gonna, that was the number 1 track. I was not gonna lose that reign, so I would have returned to it if someone was threatening me in any way. So, but
Yes.
just to complete Bowser's Castle, might as well do it. I did eventually return to it back when I was at a healthier mindset more than anything. 2019 in particular was a pretty terrible year for me. So that's why there's like a bit of a gap in 2019, between like March and August. No war records for me during that time, and part of the reason was that fail that I mentioned. But I did eventually return. I knew I could beat him, of course, because I knew. I mean, if he can beat me by 0.5 with the 3 out of 3 strategy, and I already knew I can beat that time by 0.5 just using 2 out of 3 gap shortcuts, then I knew I could take it back, and that's eventually what I did.
All
And
right.
the rest is history from there, because I'm not too motivated to play Bowser's Castle. I don't really like the strategy. It's very difficult. You don't finish runs often, and obviously, if it comes down to one last gap shortcut on lap 3, there's so much pressure, and it's so easy to fail. So that's why I'm not been improving it. I still want a 155. I will go for it, but until then, it's still sitting where it is currently, which is a 038.
All right. So that's has been Bowser's Castle. Let's go into the next track, which you hold both the no glitch and the glitch world record of. Let's first get started with the no glitch world record, which your first record was 1 minute 23 seconds and 420 milliseconds, and you had a long battle with Alexoni over it. Tell us what happened from there.
Yes, so I got a 420 and immediately improved it to 385. Again, as far as why I played Woohoo Loop, it's the same reason I'm just going to give for every other track at the time, so long ago. It was just another track that I managed to pick up, and getting the war record just proved that I am one of the best, so that's why I played it. I wasn't fighting Alexoni like every single day. Like as soon as he beat me, it's like, oh, I got to jump to Woohoo Loop and beat him back. No, I kind of just play Woohoo Loop whenever I wanted to. So that is a battle that I look back fondly of, because he's amazing. He's always going to be a legend in my eyes. And he eventually won that battle with the 123 189. I think it's one of the most iconic war records in my opinion. So he held that throughout the rest of 2013. Now I'm just going to jump straight to 2014 because it's a bit noteworthy. I was playing Woohoo Loop for months, from like March until I got the record in May.
Okay.
So that was a long ass grind, and to see Diogo come out of nowhere and get that record in like a 20th of the time that it took me, oh man, I was pretty pissed. Oh man. But somehow within a day I do beat him with a 166. And he had a 173, so it was a 7 millisecond improvement. And go figure, I accidentally hit one of the other buttons, not to watch replay. I was careless
Oh gosh.
with my fingers, and so there's no video for it. A record that lasts almost 2 years doesn't have a video, and on a track that has a glitch. Who knows? I may have just used the glitch on section 3 to beat him.
Right.
But yeah, and at the time, proof standards were weak, so it was accepted just based on my status as a trustworthy player. There was nothing to note about that time. I do just remember that I had a really good shroom on section 2, and it allowed me to just hold the SMT. And at the time, I preferred to just hold the SMT into section 3 whenever I could. It's slower, and nowadays, like I know now it's slower, definitely release it immediately. But at the time, I thought holding it was better. And so that's what I did. And that's why the section 2 and 3 are kind of off. Like a 200 on section 3 is very good at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you add in that there was an SMT boost into it, it's not that impressive. So yeah, that lasted until I don't know how to say his name. Weiss? How do you say his name? Yeah. And this was when he was starting to become one of the most dominant champions that our game has ever had. He beat me with the 135, I think, or no, 139.
165 and then 139.
165. Yeah, he beat me by 1 millisecond, and then he got a 139. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, when he did beat me again at the time, I was playing Mario Kart 8, so I wasn't fighting back. When I did return in 2017, I didn't think I was going to beat him.
Okay.
So when I got my 091, to say that I was ecstatic is an understatement. It was definitely a record that came out of nowhere. And this time, the section 3 at the time was very strong for my standards. So let me just double check. Yeah, 208. So this 208 was without an SMT going into section 3. And I thought, wow, how can I top that? So that's why that record lasted for almost a year. By 2018, a couple new SSMT strats were discovered, as well as tricking off the ramp on section 3. That actually saves a lot of time compared to going around it. So that's what allowed me to get the 123 sub. It was a grind, but I knew I could do it. And I knew it was one of the biggest subs in this game. An elusive sub, a sub that everyone thought could never be done, including myself. But to eventually improve that, 122.969 was the time. And the reason why it only lasted 81 days is because I knew it could still go down by quite a bit. In fact, I knew it could go down to a 0.8, and that's exactly what I tried to do. So when my next grind began in May 2018, that's when I improved to a 122.890, and that's a pretty nice digits, 890. So that was a good stopping point, but for some reason I improved one more time just to show why I'm the best, I guess. And I got an 868 or 878, and that lasted for over 2 years.
Right.
So, and the only reason why I even returned to it, I returned to it randomly in September. I improved it to 865, and then I just wanted to talk about the current record. The reason why I improved so rapidly was because Loris came along with a 122.948, and I just immediately thought, all right, got to improve, and that's what I did. just to show that if he had any aspirations for world record, he wasn't going to get it without a challenge. And so I improved it to where it's currently at 122.827.
Okay, and I got 2 questions about that. There was something about a car that you had to, outspeed. What was that about? I don't remember.
So the yellow truck on section 3 still is. If you're ever at a like a upper mid, 123.4 or 0.3, somewhere in that range. If you're on that pace, the yellow truck is in the way, and it's kind of hard to know whether you should go around it or you should go inside of it. And so war records at the time were going inside of it, and I decided to go around it, and I think I made the right choice. I do believe that the 385 went around the yellow truck, and that's why I managed to beat my the 420 record. So I don't really remember off the top of my head, but I think that's what happened. So I just think it went from there to go around because that was just the natural evolution of the track. The faster you were, the less obstacle that truck became, and so going around it only seemed natural.
Okay. And the other question is, what has made it that you could now say that you have beaten Weisse by 300 milliseconds? What made that difference?
A lot of new strats. So again, I mentioned going off the ramp at the end of section 3. That definitely saves. I don't really know exactly, but I would say it saves over 50 milliseconds, which is huge. And then you factor in any extra SSMTs are saving around 30, 25 milliseconds. Adding those up all together does equate to a pretty substantial time save. And then the main strategy that I did that I don't know if he did or not, I'm going to assume he didn't, was a SMT. So after grabbing the 5th, 6th, and 7th coins in that little tunnel section, you can get an SMT off of that turn, and that definitely saved at least 75 milliseconds. So besides that, again, it just comes down to optimization. We wonder why Toad Circuit has improved by over 0.2 since Mr. L's 270 there.
Right.
It's the same reason. It's just some SSMTs, but also better lines. And better lines don't save much when the wall record is already so strong, but they do save time if you manage to do it.
Okay, so that's it for no glitch. Let's briefly go over glitch, because the record the history of that looks like you got the record and you improved it for a couple months. Tell us how that went. You had the same competitor, going against the same competitor.
Mm-hmm. But it seems my competitor didn't have any desire to return or fight back. So just to briefly explain why I did not go for the glitch ever, I didn't know how to do the first respawn glitch. I thought it was completely random, and so that's it. I mean, can't really compete if I don't know how to do that, so I never bothered with it. But eventually I did learn how to do it, and once I learned, it was very straightforward from there because Sony had the record with this famous 217 time, 118, 217, and that lasted for almost 1,000 days. And then Weiss beat him by a frame, and that lasted for almost 2 years. So you just got to think, from 2013 to 2018, how much has this game evolved? How many new strategies are there? How better is our driving? And so I just knew that I could beat that time by a lot. And that's what I did. I first tied him, but then I quickly beat him afterwards because I wasn't happy with the tie. I knew I can push down a lot further than that. But even when I got the 117, I knew that the sub was possible. I knew that it was pretty weak. And so I just kept improving until I got the sub. That's pretty much it about that. And when I got the sub, I got it by a lot to the current world record, still the only 2018 record remaining, and is my longest lasting record at 117.884 on Woohoo Loop Glitch, set on my birthday, no less.
Nice. And is there anything... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to quickly mention that I'm still very happy about that time, which is why I haven't bothered to improve it. I think everything after the first glitch is perfect. There's pretty much nothing to save off of that. So the only thing to save off of that record is the section before, section 2. So I think 0.7 is possible, but of course it's going to be very challenging to do that. So at the moment, don't really have any plans to return to that.
All right, so that was exactly what I was gonna ask. So that's it for Woohoo Loop, Glitch, and No Glitch. Now we're gonna go into a really difficult one. That is Maple Treeway, because you started playing when the glitch was introduced. During your play, the glider dive was introduced, the wall hop was introduced, and the wall shortcut at the hairpin was introduced. So try to coherently, if possible, with this track, tell us how that went.
All right, so there's a very long history on this track, so I will definitely condense it. Let's start from the beginning. There was a video that showcased the glitch, but for whatever reason, it was only like the third person weird replay view, not first person. And that's important because I needed to know what inputs he was doing. So I was desperately trying to learn that glitch, and I wanted to be the first person to ever pull it off and get a world record. And I was doing it incorrectly. I thought, okay, you got to get height of some kind, so holding down seemed natural. So I was holding down. And I thought at the time I was getting close. It seemed very random, though, but obviously in hindsight, I wasn't close at all. So when Diogo, I believe, he was the first to get a record. Correct. And I watched his video and I saw, oh, wait, he's holding left during this part. And he's pressing R during that part. And so I kind of just pieced it together from there. And that's why I managed to get a 3 out of 3 so quickly. It seemed like my practice beforehand wasn't going anywhere, but in actuality, it actually helped me to pull off this glitch a lot more consistently than most players were at the time. So people were even thinking like 3 out of 3 is too hard, it's too random, no one's ever going to do it. And to get a 3 out of 3 so quickly and prove everyone wrong, that's a very special record to me. And I believe it was the 152.502.
506.
506. All right, close enough. Okay, so very happy with that. During that time, shortly after, Crazy Conga came along and used Beast Glider. I just thought that the Flower Glider was necessary during the cannon to get the necessary height. That's the only reason why I used Flower Glider. So during that same time frame, during my brief battle with him, I believe it was Adromaster. He was the one who at least proposed the idea of gliding up and down at the end and using the tree branches. And I think that was implemented in a no glitch roll record, maybe. But anyway, I got the idea from one of those two things. And so that's when I began to use that strategy, which saved a huge amount of time. And that's what allowed me to get the first 150 sub. And so after that, just going to skip ahead because there's really nothing to note until Samuel comes along. It's one of my other personal favorite battles was with him because he got his first world record in May 2015. And then he got the sub a couple months later, 149 sub. Right. Very happy for him. And then I did eventually beat him back while I was still playing Mario Kart 8 full time. Got my own 149 sub, which was a long time coming for me as well. And then from there, he got his 0.7. Thought that was very strong. But then in late 2016, it was my first world record that I got that I was officially full-time in Mario Kart 7. It was the 760 on Maple True A.
Right.
And then Samuel beat me one more time in May 2017 with like a 714 or something. And then from there, I beat him back in September using a Wiggler boost on lap 2 in addition to lap 1. And that's when he stopped playing, unfortunately. I wish he continued, but such is life. I'm sure he's just busy. And so after that, there's nothing to note. I just kept improving. I knew that this 666, it's pretty funny digits, but I knew it was weak. And I got a couple challengers, or just one, I think, just Space. He kind of came out of nowhere, but then I quickly beat him back.
Right.
And so it wasn't until 2019, that's when like some of the new strategies were starting to come into fruition. So I believe that like that wall, what is it? Like, how would you describe that? The wall
I call
at
it.
the very you use.
I
It's
call
like
it the wall shortcut at the hairpin turn.
Yeah. It's more like a bounce. You use like you're bouncing off the wall and you just gain some height, and you manage to do the same mushroom shortcut that we all been doing, but you are able to just cut inside of the first off-road part on the far right.
Oh, that one I call the wall hop. The other one has the other name.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Because I believe Endo, he was the one who did that first in his record.
Okay.
And when he did that, I was not motivated to play and reclaim it at the time, but eventually I did learn it. And that strat alone saves over 0.4, so it's huge. And I knew just doing it like 3 out of 3 would be enough to beat him, and that's what I did. To get the first 146 sub, I think it was a 698.
Correct.
Memory serves me. Yeah. But that record didn't last long. That's right. And also the turn skip was discovered as well. Yeah, that's right. So I already had used the turn skip, and then Endo came along and did that wall hop at the beginning as well. Okay. So sorry about that. History was a little... Okay. So the turn skip...
That was
when was that discovered? Like late 2018?
Yeah, the first.
I believe, because that's when Gloombo was beaten on no glitch. So it had to have been late 2018. That's when it was first implemented.
Yeah, first performance was 24 of December for glitch category.
Yeah, and glitch in particular was noteworthy because you had to do it shroomless. And I believe at the time no one was doing it shroomless. So, but doing it just once saved close to a second, if not more. So all these improvements, like some 148s, the 147, those were all super weak. And even the 146 800 was very weak. So that's why I managed to just improve it by 0.5 to 148.3. And that's when Endo came along and he introduced another strategy just to make the track even more chaotic and very strat reliant. So, but yeah, I'm kind of running out of words to say because, I mean, like everything else, I did eventually return to it, and I just kept improving it because I knew I could, and I did implement a turn skip on lap 1, which does require a mushroom, which means you have to do that wall bounce strat at the beginning shroomless in order to do the glitch. That's just mandatory. So that's why I managed to cut over a second from the 145.698 to where it is currently, which is 144.415.
Right. All right.
Sorry.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I spaced out there. My mind kind of froze for a minute about that. So yeah, there's nothing else to report. To quickly go over Maple Tree No Glitch, I'm not sure why I wasn't motivated to ever try that track, other than I enjoyed racing against ghosts more than not. That's where I can detect where I can save time and how strong or weak a record is by racing a ghost. And throughout the early history, I didn't have a second Mario Kart 7, and so I wasn't able to have a no glitch ghost because I already had my glitch ghost, and that was it. So that's reason number one I didn't play Maple True no glitch. Number two, I guess it was just annoying. There's so many wiggler boosts and whatnot, and before the turn skip, you had to like grind the turn, and that's always annoying. Grinding turns is never fun. It's satisfying when you do it, but it's an easy point to lose a lot of time or fall off and lose the run. So, but anyway, once all the new strategies were getting implemented, and also I had a second Mario Kart 7, so I had a ghost to race against for no glitch. That's when I just came along and beat everyone, and there really wasn't much competition. I know Endo can still beat me on both categories of this track, but it's gotten to the point where finishing a run is ridiculously hard. It's probably one of the hardest tracks to finish a run on for both categories, and so that's why the no glitch record is still a 212.380, despite losing a substantial amount of time due to an error that I couldn't even control. Like sometimes coming out of that cannon, the drift just doesn't want to work, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay, so now we've gone over Maple Treeway, Glitch and No Glitch. Now the next track that I want to talk about is Mario Circuit, which interestingly now has a wall ride strat, which I've never gotten to work. Tell us about this track before and after that wall ride.
So before, this is going back 8 years, so once again I'm going to just revert to my standard answer, which is that Mario Circuit was just another track to play at the time, and it was noteworthy because I believe by getting that record, I held 7 world records at the time, and that was the most out of any player for a few months. And that was important to me, of course, to claim for the first time that I have the most world records in this game. So that's pretty cool. So as far as Mario Circuit is concerned, there's not much to note. I just knew that when I first got the record that I could just keep improving until the sub. I was motivated and determined to do that. And so that's what I did. Got a 158.932, which didn't last long. I got randomly beaten by some Japanese player. I don't remember his name.
Let's see. His name is... I wrote it down here. Yumemite Negoto. That was his name.
Well, sad for him. His record didn't last long because, yeah, he picked a fight with the wrong person. So very quickly after, I got, in my opinion, one of my more historic records, which was a 158.647. I was definitely delighted about that. I remember being super nervous on lap 3, which is why I only did like a low single trick off the last ramp. I was just super nervous. I just wanted to complete the run at that point. I knew it was amazing. And that record lasted for over 2 years.
Right.
Until Mume and Okami, they all came along, and Toad as well. They all came along, and they did a new glider strat. Now, it's not the wall ride, but it was gliding up and down again. So
right.
They did that. That did save a bit of time, and that's why they were able to beat me. Then Sun came along, and his record lasted for 600 days exactly.
Yep.
And once again, I wasn't playing because of Mario Kart 8. I did return in 2017, and I was very busy with a lot of other tracks, but eventually I did return to Mario Circuit. And when I did beat Sun, that was the first time I had 8 world records, which was the most I ever had. So once again, Mario Circuit coming along. So first, I got Mario Circuit for the first time and had the most world records with 7, and then I came back 4 years later, and that was the track that pushed me to 8 world records for the first time. So once again, pretty cool fact. I did improve to a 312. I was pretty happy with that because the lap 3 on that is still very impressive. 38.873.
Right.
So if you don't do the new mushroom strat and you don't do the wall ride, I think a 38.873 is one of the strongest laps you can do on that track. So by 2018, though, the wall ride was introduced. It didn't take me too long to learn it. Contrary to what you just said, it's annoying, but it's not the most inconsistent thing. Especially if you use Peach Parasol, one of the light gliders, you use one of those, you descend down pretty quickly, which helps. I think the faster you descend down, the easier it is to land and stay on it. So yeah, I did that, but then Weiss came along and he just completely obliterated Mario Circuit to a 157.393. Definitely a strong record and definitely worthy of lasting for almost 2 years. There's a reason why he wasn't beaten. It definitely destroyed my motivation on that track. So that's why I didn't return to it.
Right.
But eventually, in 2020, I did. And I got a 157.295. Pretty happy with that at the time. But then Fizz showed me why that record was pretty bad. And his record of 0.88 is very underrated, in my opinion. I think, along with my current record, which is a 0.45, both of those times are exceptionally good. Mario Circuit, once again, just like with mini tracks, notoriously hard to finish runs on because, well, the wall ride, that's one thing. And then the beginning grass cut, the one that we do shroomless,
Right.
that one is super annoying because you basically have to hop as late as you can. So you hop over the grass as much of it as possible. And if you fail to do it, you lose over 0.1, and that is just a run killer. At this stage of the game, at our current level, how strong the record is right now, losing over 0.1 to that, it's not acceptable. You have to restart. So that's why I don't really play Mario Circuit very often. I try to avoid it as much as I can. But when I am in the zone, I know I'm the best on it. And so undoubtedly a 156 will be done eventually. But at the moment, no, not really playing it. No desire.
All right. Okay, so that's Mario Circuit. Let's talk about the next track, which is Shy Guy Bazaar, no glitch, and later on we got a glitch. Your first Shy Guy Bazaar no glitch world record was in 981. Yeah, start from there. What happened? How did it go?
Right. So with Shy Guy Bazaar, I remember Mr. Sam L, aka ZC, he beat Suman's last record on Shire Bazaar, and he got the sub. And everyone was, delighted and happy for him. And secretly, I was playing that track. And I do remember it took me 5 hours to initially practice on it. Then I needed another 5 hours on world record attempts, and I did not get the world record on that day. But then the next day after, it only took me 10 minutes to beat him.
Wow.
So that's just a little trivia fact about that. So when I did beat him, it was a huge surprise factor. So that's obviously something that makes me grin a lot. Then I did improve it shortly after to a 923. But then after that, ZC came back and his 855, I believe. I still say that's a pretty impressive record. If you ignore all the new strats that we currently use, I think it's very good. There's a reason why I lasted for 2 years.
Right.
And once again, May 2014, that's right around when Mario Kart 8 came out. So Shire Bazaar was just unfortunately one of those tracks I just never managed to pick up again until I returned to the game in 2017. And like I said before, Yassine, he really motivated me to play Shire Bazaar and Mario Circuit in particular. And so Shire Bazaar was just one of those tracks I returned to, and I quickly discovered that what was I doing? I could have easily taken back this world record. And so it didn't take me long to beat Issa, I believe his name is.
Correct.
Yep. And from there, I just continued to improve on my own because I didn't have any competition. So I eventually improved to a 289, 202, 289. And at this point, we were using a couple wall boosts off the stalls and adding a couple SSMTs at a straightaway. And also going through the pots was mandatory at this point. I do remember ZZ also did the pot strat, going in between them. And obviously at the time, that's very impressive because to this day, going in between the pots is super annoying, definitely a run killer. Very easy to bump into one of them, just lose your run. So anyway, no competition, and I was satisfied with the 289, and then I did improve to a 252, which I was not satisfied with, but at the same time, I didn't really care to keep going on Shire Bazaar, so I just left it there. And so that's why that lasted for 500 days. Then I improved one more time to a 167, and I was pretty happy with that. I thought it was pretty solid, but then Aaron kind of came along in late 2020 and demonstrated why a 167 doesn't hold up. He improved twice, and at this point, I was definitely not just going to sit back and let him have it. And this goes to a number of tracks that I currently hold the record on. If anyone challenges me, I'm definitely ready to fight back as soon as I can. And that's what I did. I fought back. It was a grind, one of the harder grinds for sure. There's a reason why it took a month, because I was legit playing Shire Bazaar for a month to get this no glitch record back. That's how optimized it is. That's how annoying it is to complete runs. So, but yeah, that's when I eventually got the 202.038, which is where it currently stands. Obviously, the sub is possible, but like I said, the track is super hard, and it is one of the more optimized tracks in the game, I would say.
Right.
And as far as the glitch is concerned, I believe that strategy was discovered very early on in this game's history, but no one discovered a faster method until I came along. I believe I was the first to do it the way I do it right now, because I think like everyone else was using like a different setup, but a much slower setup. So even if they got it, it wasn't going to save time.
Correct.
But yeah, I don't know if I'm right on that, but I believe so. I believe I'm right on that. So I did get the glitch, and to this day, the glitch record is not strong because I usually only go for it when I don't have a chance to beat my no glitch time. And so the reason why, for example, I improved from like a 202.025 to where it is currently is because when I improved to the current record, which is a 201.750, I was racing against the 202.1. But these earlier records, I was racing against, 202.2 for no glitch. So it just depended on the ghosts I was racing against. So once I play glitch again, I'm going to be racing against the 038 ghost now for no glitch.
Okay.
And when I race against that ghost and I'm like 50 milliseconds behind and I determine, oh, wait, I can't beat the no glitch time anymore. I might as well go for the glitch. Once I make it, that's another 0.1 that's going to come off of that record. So yeah, nothing else to say about that.
Something interesting did happen during the glitch era,
Okay,
and that
might
is,
be getting
and that is that, as far as I can tell, you improved the no glitch record beyond the glitch record at some point. How did
right,
that happen?
right. So when I got the first glitch record, it was a 202,384, and that one was just a complete fluke. Um, I knew that, I knew I could do the glitch and maybe get a faster time, but in that run in particular, I definitely had no chance for the world record, and I thought even if I made it, I wasn't going to beat it, but then I did. So, and you got to keep in mind that at the time, so when I set the 384, I was racing against a point 0.4 on no glitch. That was my no glitch time. It was 4:59. Let me double check that. Um, let's see. Yes, 4:59. So I was racing against that ghost, and that time had a missed SSMT before the glider ramp on lap 2, which lost over point 0.1 by itself.
Okay.
So it really isn't surprising that I eventually did just get the massive improvement that I was looking for on no glitch, and that's when I improved to a 289, which was indeed faster than the glitch record, which was still a 384. So
Right.
I believe this is the only time that a no glitch record ousted a glitch record. But that didn't last long because I obviously wasn't going to just let my glitch record be slower when I knew that the glitch was faster overall. So I did eventually improve my glitch time to beat the no glitch time. And where it is currently at now, you can't beat the glitch time without doing the glitch. It's impossible.
Okay. And was it a big motivator to get started on the glitch now, or like a demotivator of how could I ever do that?
Probably the former.
Okay. Okay, so gone over Shy Guy Bazaar. Now an interesting one. Luigi's Mansion. You played that track, got the glitch record after Marv held a streak of 1,171 days. How did you decide to then go for the record?
Oh, man. So the Luigi's Mansion glitch was entirely my decision to play. No one was telling me to play that track because, I mean, who could ever guess that I was going to play that track ever?
Right.
I remember it being a huge grind to learn the glitch. I believe it took me 8 hours to learn, and then probably like another several hours on another day to finally get my first 2 out of 3 glitch, which was still slower than the world record was. And I got that for reference in December of 2016. So, but I knew that my time was very weak, and I knew that if I just get lucky, if I can just get lucky, like Marv did, I can beat him. And turns out I didn't need to get so lucky to beat him because I guess no one knew that his record was very weak, maybe except for himself. So, to get that record, I don't remember how long it took. I'd imagine it definitely took a long time though. And when I did get it, I was very happy, I would imagine, because just throughout that track's history, getting 2 glitches in one run is a demanding task. It's so easy to fail, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you fail, you just have to restart and try again. So I did eventually beat him in March 2017, and that was with a 141.168.
6-2.
Okay, 6.2. From there, as you could have guessed, there's not much competition. Because Marv held it for over 3 years without competition. So why can't I hold the record for an extended amount of time without competition? So that's exactly what happened. Um, eventually I got the sub, and when I was playing that track again, when I returned to it again to get the 141 sub, I mean, at that point, I had a good understanding of the glitch, and it wasn't all that bad to finish runs. Still bad, but not that bad. But then in late 2018, that's when a couple Japanese players came along, and one of them being Momi, and he implemented a once thought of as completely random strategy with the glitch. Just that you basically do the glitch, but then you, for some reason, don't collide with the wall or some kind, and you don't lose your speed as a result. And so in his run, and he started to implement this in his runs, and he was super consistent at this glitch too. Like, he was rapidly improving. And so it just seemed clear that, okay, this guy is now the new king of this track. And so by getting propelled forward and not losing your speed, you can save a lot of time, because what I was doing before was I was hitting the wall and I was landing very slowly down, and I lost all my speed. So I had to slowly accelerate back up. And on one of the laps, I was just using the shroom to recover from that speed loss. But Momi didn't need to do that. So he can do the glitch twice and not lose any speed from it, and then still have one mushroom left to do a grass cut. So that's why he's was able to just destroy me. So my last record before that was a 147.82, and he came along and lowered it all the way down to a 138.636 in a span of about a month. And so that's why his record lasted for 800 days. I was still trying, and I believe in March 2019, I also got a 138. I had my own method of doing the glitch now, and it's one of the hardest glitches in the game. Just got to say that right now. So that's why, even though I got a 138, I just couldn't beat him. It was just too hard. The track was too hard. So, but then once I returned in 2021, at that point I had accomplished what I thought was my final goal of this game, which was to get 10 world records, holding them at once simultaneously. And so I figured I might as well try for an 11th, and what better track to try than this one? Because I knew I could beat him. I knew for 2 years I could beat him, but the track was just super hard. The glitch was too hard. But if I really dedicated myself to it, I eventually could beat him, and that miracle happened. And the record currently sits at a 138.036. Definitely no plans to return to it. Although whenever I try the glitch for fun and like online, I do make it pretty often. Like, not super consistently, but the fact that I make it at all online, it shows that I can return to this track and repeat the same effort and dedication needed to get that record. So someday I could improve it, because it is improvable, but for now, very satisfied with it.
All right. So also very briefly on glitch, you have 2 records on that. Tell us how that went.
So no glitch.
Yes, excuse me, no glitch.
Yeah. So for the first record on no glitch, I was definitely in a dark place. And if you watch back on that video, I used a specific music to kind of reflect my current emotions at the time. That's why it's kind of like dark, but anyway, it's not in a good headspace during that time. So I can't tell you why I played that track, why I picked it up, but I can tell you that I continued to play that track until I got the record, because I legit had nothing else in my life to look forward to. I mean, my family life was miserable at the time. I was getting into a lot of arguments with friends. I was just not doing well, very depressed. And so Mario Kart 7 was, at that time, just my only escape. So I just kind of played it mindlessly, and that's when I got that record. and I beat Thomas for that. And it was a let me see, it was a 807.
811.
811. Okay, yeah. So, but other than that, Luigi's Mansion, because it was a recent track, I didn't have much history with it. So when I was beaten by Apollo, I didn't have much motivation to return to it until I had 9 world records earlier this year. When I reclaimed Rosalie's Ice World, I got 9 world records, and I just had enough at that point. I was like, I'm doing this right now. I'm going for number 10. And so I don't care who challenges me. I don't care how long it takes. And I thought, what better track than Luigi's Mansion? Because Mario Circuit was notoriously hard, whereas with Luigi's Mansion, it's pretty straightforward. There's a couple sections like the stairs and the mud section. Those are pretty random elements. You can kind of lose time or gain an unnecessary amount of height on the stairs for no real reason. So there's really nothing you can do about that. But other than that, Luigi's Mansion is a straightforward track, kind of like Woohoo Loop is. So I just thought, you know what? Let my driving decide it. You know, I can get this record. And that took a long time. I mean, there's a reason why when I got Rosalie's Ice World, it took 9 days to get Luigi's Mansion, because I immediately jumped straight into Luigi's Mansion after getting Rosalie's Ice World, probably the next day. And I never stopped playing it. I played for, I would say, a good 4 to 5 hours every day. And I just could not get the record. I mean, it was just, I just kept failing. And so I guess that's why when I did eventually get it, I was, oh my God, my heart was racing. I screamed at the top of my lungs. Finally, I did it. And so, yeah, the Luigi's Mansion has the distinction of being my 10th world record in this game, which was the first ever. So I'm still very proud of that. For that reason alone, as far as the record is itself, it's still very improvable, of course. It's at a 787 currently. I don't know why it's still the current record. I don't know why it's still the current world record. Because I get high stairs on lap 2, among other fails. But no one's really playing it. But if someone does play it, it is going to be one of the tracks that I will return to and give it a try, despite how miserable it was to get the 10th world record. But
Alright, so that was Luigi's Mansion. Now the next one was a short-lived venture, which was Coconut Mall, which you set 2 world records on. Tell me about why you decided to play that one and why you decided quickly not to play that one.
Yeah, you know why I don't want to play that track anymore. So about getting it, it was after I got Mario Circuit back in late 2017, October 2017. That's when I got Mario Circuit back, and that's when I had 8 world records. So the natural question for me was, well, can I extend 8 world records to 9? But in order to do that, I had to pick up a new track of some kind. So Coconut Mall was just one of the choices that I went with, and when I played it, I was like, all right, this is pretty fun. I don't really mind it. It doesn't seem too bad. I mean, the glider's pretty annoying, but other than that, it's basic driving. And I just kind of, from there, I got the record because I was a much better player now, compared to a few years ago. And even 2017 was really when I was establishing I'm one of the best again. And so I beat Eve on Coconut Mall, but then he quickly fought back. And then I beat him one more time. And then that's when he got his amazing
155.987.
Yeah, he got an 8.7 first, but then he proved it again like a madman, because that's what people do. You get an amazing sub and then just immediately beat it. So he got a 9.64. Now, during this time, I believe it was my second record. It was the 229, my 156 229. I believe during that time, that's when a new double coin strat was discovered at the very beginning of the track. Instead of grabbing one coin after your first shroom, you grab two.
Mm-hmm.
And this in particular, is not fun. You don't have much mobility or control in midair, so you basically have to rely on your alignment before your shroom. And then you also do like a little drift off of that ramp. And so it's just, I find it personally to be no consistent setup for it. And that's why I don't really play this track anymore. It's a mandatory requirement now because it just saves too much time. Because what you can do, if you grab two coins there, then you can skip the last coin at a turn. And so you could just take that turn much tighter. And by taking that turn much tighter, you automatically save over 0.1, in addition to saving time because you have one extra coin for a brief moment. So, yep, from there, I just said, you know what, I'm done. And now the current world record is even stronger than it already was. I mean, I thought Eve's record was strong, but now it's even stronger. And it also has an annoying like wall ride strat.
Right.
I have no idea how to do it. So yeah, no desire to come back to that at all.
Okay. Yeah, the current record is very impressive. So that's Coconut Mall. Now let's move on to a track that you recently improved, which is N64 Koopa Troopa Beach, where you beat Lysa, who had already beaten TDZ and Ray, the legendary Ray. Tell us how that went through and a little bit about the competition with TDC.
Man, first of all, I just gotta say I miss Ray a lot. Definitely one of my best friends from like 2014, 2013 to when he suddenly left. So he's greatly missed. But as far as Koopa Troopa Beach is concerned, again, in 2018, I was just on a tear. You can see, if you look at my history, I set over 40 world records in that year. And Koopa Troopa Beach just happened to be one of those casualties, and also a track that Yassine really wanted me to get. He believed that I can get that record, even though I never played the track, never time traveled it in my life until then. So, but when I did, I learned very quickly that Koopa Troopa Beach is very satisfying to play. It's very satisfying to complete a run on it. I love the driving. I love all the strats. I don't think any strategy is annoying, although they are run killers, like the glider bounce after the shroom and also the glider boost on the shell. Those two are very annoying, but I don't mind it. I just think it's very fun and fulfilling to do those strats. So yeah, I beat Weiss with a 132.04, and that lasted for a couple months until TDC came along, and he beat me 3 times. He got a 202, 199, and then 165. And his 165 lasted for over 2 years. And that's simply because while I first played the track and I managed to learn it, and I felt very comfortable with it, and I felt, okay, I can be the best on this track. But then when TDZ beat me and I tried to return to it, it just wasn't clicking. I couldn't finish laps. I couldn't do anything. And when that happens, that's a huge turn away for me. I have to know that I have the potential to beat a record. Otherwise, I'm just not going to bother to play the track. I'm going to move on to another track. So that's what happened. So TDC had it for 2 years. And so when I returned in 2020, it was simply because when I finally picked it up again, it was the first time where I felt like I could compete again. I was getting the splits again. And in fact, getting even better splits. I was starting to get 30 splits on lap 1. So that's just when I knew, like, okay, I can definitely come back and I can destroy this track. And so I improved in October 2020 to a 130, 146. That's when I beat him for the first time. Then I improved to a 130, 101. Now, at this point, I was completely on fire. I was you could say I was possessed
Okay.
because I just knew that getting this sub would be huge. Like probably the next hugest sub that I ever got in this game besides Woohoo was this one right here, and you can argue it was even more monumental than that. So even though TDC came along and beat me again with the 090, he had no chance. I mean, unless he was just as dedicated as I was to get the sub, he was not going to win in our battle. And that's what I did. I improved very rapidly. These couple point zeros here, the 130, 023, and the 019, those were 129 fails for sure. So to say that getting this sub wasn't a challenge would be an understatement. It definitely felt like at times that it was not going to happen, but it did happen because I was perseverant. I wasn't going to let it slide under my fingertips. So that's when I did it. I mean, I did it on October 20th, 129.975. And it's only until recently, just a few days ago, where TDC came back and he demonstrated why he can still get the sub.
Okay.
And so that motivated me to improve. And unlike before, I managed to pick up the track again very quickly. So it wasn't a problem for me to improve to where it is currently, which is a 945.
Okay. And that one has a really good last lap, actually.
Mm-hmm. Currently BKS.
And you were never worried that TDC would snipe the sub?
I mean, I knew he could do it, but even if he did, I had no plans to just let him have it. I was more than ready to fight back. So, I mean, I think just for his own sake, I wish he got the sub. I wish he wasn't deterred by my improvement, which maybe or may not have happened. But yeah, I wasn't really worried. Not really worried about him.
When did you know the sub was definitely possible for this track?
Probably as soon as I returned to it. So even as early as the 146 time that I mentioned, I knew the sub was possible.
This will be a short one because you only have one world record on it. You set a record on Toad's Circuit, and a very interesting thing about it is that you introduced a new SSMT strat.
Correct.
Like, how did you think of it? How did no one else think of it? And how did you manage to beat such a strong player, Fizz?
So, Toad Circuit is pretty interesting because first Ray had the potential to get the record back then, and I wish he managed to do it, but he never did. And then Yassine in like 2017, 2018, around that time frame, he also had potential to get the record, and he never did. So it kind of felt like when I played Toad Circuit for the first time and I realized that, oh, wait, I can actually get the record here, that I would kind of be doing it in honor of two of my best friends that I ever had in this community. So that was one huge motivator why I decided to play Toad Circuit. Yes, the extra SSMT helps because that's a pretty substantial time save on Toad Circuit. And as far as discovering it, I mean, there's nothing noteworthy here because it just felt like, why weren't people doing this before? You can easily fit one more. And it's not like Woohoo Loop, for example, where people have speculated, oh, you can do 3 SSMTs at the first straightaway on Woohoo Loop. Well, no, you can't, because taking that first turn tight and landing with the delay drift in general is very important on that track. So if you go for a third SSMT there, you're going to lose more time than you gain, so it's not worth it. But on Toad Circuit, there is no such obstacles. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of space. There's plenty of time. So you can squeeze an extra SSMT in there. And so that's what I did. I mean, it's kind of like Shire Bazaar introducing those SSMTs as well before the glider. It's just like, why was no one else doing it? So that's all I did. Just thought of something that was natural for the game, natural for the track. So, but as far as beating Fizz, I definitely didn't think I was ever going to get the record until I improved to like a 195. I believe that was like my previous personal record before the world record. And when I got that time and I was racing against that ghost, I quickly saw just how much there was to save, and I knew, like, okay, I definitely can get the record if I just keep pushing onward, and that's what I did. I'm very happy to have that record on, like, the very first track in this game, because, you know, the first track in this game, along with Rainbow Road, are kind of the more famous tracks for any Mario Kart game.
Right.
So to say I have the world record on that, even if it only lasted for a couple months or so, very, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool thing to add to my resume. So when Fizz beat me back, I didn't have plans to return to it, and for good reason, because he's since improved it a lot, and he's improved it down to where it is currently, which, if off the top of my head, it's like a 0.5 something. So
0.53, correct. Do you think he could do the sub, perhaps?
It's tough. I don't think Toad Circuit sub is like Koopa Troopa Beach, for example. I do believe Toad Circuit is much, 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 much stronger than people give credit. So I think even improving by 50 milliseconds is going to be a huge order to undertake. But I think Fizz is more than capable of doing it if he really wanted to. But I don't know what his current activity status is. I don't know if he's playing it. I don't know how motivated he is for that. I'm sure he's already very satisfied with his current record. So yeah, nothing else to say about that. It's still going to be a while before we see the 118.
Okay, so that's Toad Circuit. Now, second to last track to talk about is Cheap Cheap Lagoon, where you actually beat a very iconic player on this track, even though he only held 2 records. Sun stopped at 133.098, and then you decided to improve on it. How did that go?
Yep, so, man, Cheap Cheap Lagoon. It was a completely random track that I just decided to play, and I had never time trialed it seriously before. And on my very first day of playing it, I already had a 133.5 something. It was faster than Suman's legendary record in 2013, 133.573 or something like that. He had something like that. Beat that on my very first day playing this track. And I just kept going because I just wanted the American record at the time. Had no, my sights were not set on the world record. I thought world record was too far away. I'll never match those splits, but I could get the American record. And it was just something I was doing just to pass the time. Now, what's interesting is that all along, the answer to get the world record was right in front of me, which was TDZ's time. And in his record, his PR, he was using a different strategy, using a mushroom at the glider on lap 1. So he took the glider path all 3 laps. And so I was like, all right, might as well try it. And
Right.
I learned very quickly that was much, 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 much faster. And I have no idea why Sun or anyone else was not doing it. So at that point, along with just getting better at the track, I was definitely matching the world record splits at the time. And I thought, all right, this is it. I can get the world record on this track. And it only took 4 days altogether to get this record after never playing this track ever. So that's when I got the 133.081. Even though it only took 4 days, I was, again, kind of like with Koopa Troopa Beach and a couple other tracks, I was, like Luigi's Mansion, getting the 10th world record. I was definitely in the zone, and I was not focused on any other responsibilities in life in order to get this record. I was playing this track nonstop. There was nothing more important to me than getting this record, and so that's why I kept going, and that's why I was improving at a rapid rate. So I did get this 081, and then 10 days later I got a 073.
And
But then my point was proven that other players could come along and beat me and beat Sun as well. And that's what Endo did. And he got a 132 live on stream. Very impressive. 132.964. And I thought, okay, my goal was to sub, but getting that record was going to be pretty challenging. That's what I thought. And it was. It took a couple of days of nonstop trying for me to get that record back to a 930, I believe.
Yep.
Kind of an intermediate improvement, because then I quickly improved to, what was it, 891?
Correct.
Yep. So I improved to that. So at this point, I didn't really have any goals in mind. I just thought, keep improving because the competition's hot. I don't want to lose this record yet without at least trying. So I just kept going, and just, man, out of nowhere, I get what the current record is, a 714. Just blows my mind still. You can tell if you watch the video, I mean, that shock and surprise was genuine. One of the best improvements that I ever had on any track in my history. So, man, there's no words to say. I mean, it was as close to perfect as you can get. But I still feel like that if I really return to it and I really put my heart into it again, that sure, I can probably improve it, maybe by like 50 milliseconds or so or more. I mean, there's a couple ideas floating around that I do not currently do in the run, but could be done in the future. But other than that, this is one of my most proudest records in the game for sure.
I only played it like 14, 15, 16, 18 days or something.
Yep. So 4 days to get the record for the first time. And then I took a little bit of a break, so it wasn't every single day. But then I did return 10 days later. And from that point onward until I got the 714, I was playing it every day. So however long that was, plus the 4 days, that's how long I played the track for.
So that's it for Chip Lagoon. Now the last track you joined in on the world record race on is DK Jungle with its new glitch introduced. Absolutely bonkers glitch, if I had to describe it. Tell us briefly how that went and why you gave up at a certain point.
So for that one, I had no reason to play it other than just it was a new track to play. It's kind of like Airship Fortress glitch when that was first discovered. It's like, all right, might as well try it and see if I can get a record for a day or two. And so that was my only motivation to go for it. It was definitely hard to learn at first. I had no idea what I was doing, and I thought, this is impossible. How do you gain the necessary height? But eventually you learn through trial and error what to do and what not to do. And so I was pulling it off somewhat consistently, I would say. But then I ran out of motivation for it because the landing into the water section is pretty much all or nothing. Like, you can lose 0.5 or gain 0.5.
Right.
Landing with the water boost is super vital. And many times when I try to land quickly and as tight as possible, I land on the temple and I get a respawn out of it, and that's just annoying. Like, why am I landing on the temple when other people are going through the temple? So it's like, where is it safe and not safe to go through the temple? So yeah, but just in general, DK Jungle was never one of my best tracks, and it's not like Cheap Lagoon where I suddenly was able to match the world record splits or the better players on that track. I'm not better than them by any means, so that's also another reason why I just stopped playing. And so current record is a 145.2. It also does a glider boost strategy off the booster panel, kind of like what the no glitch record does. And so that's just another annoying variance to the glitch that I don't want to pursue. So yeah, definitely never going to play that again.
That is all tracks with the exception of 3. So give me very briefly, you've already told it to me in personal messages. Why did we not talk about Dino Jungle, Koopa Cape, and Neo Bowser City?
So to start with Dino Jungle, I do have some bit of history on that track. And while I can remember getting the first 150 on that. I remember getting that when I was really sick with like a head cold, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, after that, I was still trying to play it and trying to optimize it because at the time I thought, all right, no one's really challenging me, and it's up to me to kind of lower this track down and push that track down to its limits. But then Dio came along and just completely and annihilated me. And after that, I had no motivation to play because Dino Jungle has always been a pretty annoying track to play. I don't like the glider strat. I don't like either glider strat. I don't like the shroom, and I don't like the main glider cut at the very end because the landing is kind of random. Like you just lose time or you gain time by having a tighter alignment, and it's just yeah. And now the current strat is to use a shroom at that second glider and cut more of that last turn. And believe
Right.
me, it's actually just as annoying as the old method. So yeah, definitely not going to be playing that track anytime soon.
All right, and
And with
Koopa Cape.
Neobosha City, Koopa Cape, yeah, let's start there because that was my next track. So I did get that record for the first time in 2012, and I got the first 208 sub, which I was happy about at the time. But there's only one reason why I'd stopped playing, and his name was Coco. He was a track specialist, and so while I was focused on mini tracks, he was just focused on Koopa Cape, and it showed because he just completely mastered it in a way that I could never do. I mean, I couldn't replicate what he did. So when he got like the 206 sub 949 in 2013 September, somewhere around there,
Mm-hmm.
that just sealed it for me. It was impossible for me to compete. And to this day, Koopa Cape is just not one of the tracks that I have fun with. Like, I tried it a couple times here and there, and I never have fun playing it for some reason. So that's why I don't play it.
Okay, and then Neo Bowser City, very briefly.
So very briefly here, the turn skip was not discovered by me. It was discovered by another player. I believe his name was Mark, American player Mark. And I was just the first to implement it in a world record. I mean, I guess because people were fearing the turn skip or they just didn't know how to do it. So even though my records there were always very weak, even the 143.877, it missed a coin, and I was not happy about that. But after that time, I just didn't care about the track anymore. And I knew I wasn't the best out on it. I knew that I was just using this powerful strategy that saves, so much time per lap. So I knew once people learned how to do the turn skip that my days were numbered, and that's exactly what happened. So, yep, nothing else to say there. The current world record is way too strong for me. It does the turn skip shroomless, which is super annoying. I don't know how to do that at all. So, yep, no chances there.
All right, everyone. So we've gone over every single track that Jacob has set a world record on. So we've even discussed Airship Fortress a little bit. So is there anything you would like to add or talk about now before we go into the next phase?
Sure. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention one more track, and that would be Rainbow Road. You were a prominent world record holder yourself, and on June 23rd, 2014, you defeated Monar with a time of 136.261.
Correct.
And you reigned supreme uninterrupted for 5.5 years, ending with one of the most iconic subs in the game, the first 135 on Rainbow Road with a time of 135.996 set on February 11th, 2019. So talk us through the early beginnings, what motivated you to keep going for the world record, and at what point did you say to yourself, I can be the first 135 record holder on this track?
All right, asking the big questions. So I guess like inspiration started actually all the way in Mario Kart Wii. when I was watching world record runs by Kenza. Like the way he drew, like the way he raced on that track was fascinating, just so stylish and amazing. So he was my early inspiration going into Mario Kart 7, where I was very bad at Mario Kart Wii, but hey, a new beginning in Mario Kart 7. So at the start of Mario Kart 7, I was, doing all tracks, generally all tracks, and focusing a little bit on trying to be good on Rainbow Road. But I was definitely not the best in my country. That was Division X, also known as Tim, and he and I traded the Rainbow Road country record for a while. We're talking 1 minute 40 times or 1 minute 41 times. A very long time ago. And no, he doesn't deserve the title of an a-hole. He deserves the title of a b-hole, because every damn time that I improved the country record, he would get it back in 1 hour or 2 hours of play, or like at most 1 or 2 days he'd have the record back. He was that good compared to me. But at some point Tim quit, so I definitely overtook him as the best player of the Netherlands for a while on across all 32 tracks, averaging out the finish times, and I was maybe even highest VR at the same time for a long time as well. But okay, we're gonna get into the focus on Rainbow Road, and the story gets interesting. So I didn't enjoy the aspect of, okay, this record is getting weak, so I gotta improve that one. Okay, now this record is getting weak, so I gotta improve that one. Like that just goes on constantly, while at the same time I wanted to be good at Rainbow Road. At some point I just said to myself, okay, constantly doing this is not gonna make me a recognizable player. I'm not gonna do anything that will be remembered a very long time from now. Like, I want to do something legendary. So I decided to go full focus on Rainbow Road, not knowing where I would end up, not even aiming for world record by itself. And so this is a very long story, and I'm gonna make a separate video on this like next year or the year after, go into more details. But in the very broad lines, my first opponent was Marv, who held the European record at the time. I was fighting off Naiko and Roronoa. I beat Marv, Naiko beat me, Roronoa beat me, I beat them both back. And after that I didn't have European competition anymore for a very long time, and slowly started climbing the worldwide top 10. At some point Monar got 136.273 and stopped playing, moved on to Mario Kart 8. But he was so ridiculously good, he was like half a second ahead of everyone else, and the details are fuzzy, but I don't think anyone else besides him had beaten Doko at that point. So now we're gonna skip from 137 all the way to mid 136, around the 600-400 range. I suddenly got fierce competition from the people that were second and third place, the Japanese players. One of them was called Torain, and the other one I don't remember. Sorry, I don't remember the name.
I don't remember either. So
okay, so skipping all the way to that, there was a last time that Torain beat me, and then I beat Torain back. And when he said, and he told me in a comment somewhere, like maybe we can find it, he told me, "I'm rooting for you, Go Goku." So I took that as an opportunity to go ham for the world record. Like, I want to go for it now, even though I was 130 milliseconds behind at that point, and I didn't know if I even could do it. But this is where the best part starts. Around this time, Diogo was the #1 ranked player, and he was not much of a fan of Monar and his attitude. So on DK Pass and Rainbow Road, he wanted to have a faster time than Monar. It was a bit of a grudge. I was at low 0.4 or high 0.3 at that point in time, and Diogo wanted to see who could beat Monar first. So it was a specialist versus the world champion of the freaking game. So it was a race, but it wasn't any race. It was an all-out psychological warfare, because we could communicate with over Skype with each other. And so the only way to win this warfare was the person that would win this warfare was the person that would do the biggest cut on Monar first. Otherwise, there would be no end to this. Diogo started off with 136.9, I think, like around that time when he decided to beat Monar. And he started, like if his
time was like a real life entity, he started hack and slashing cuts of his time. Like, it was crazy and I could not keep up. But at some point, I had 136.331, and it was clear to other people that it was a world record fail on the final shortcut, but I couldn't see it. Like, because I just didn't believe I could get the world record, and Diogo was trailing me. But Diogo came in, got a 136.285, which beat my time, but not the world record yet. And this time looked very improvable. For the very first time in a long time, I didn't have European record anymore, and it was close to devastating. I was panicking. He was gonna win. But there was one thing developing that Diogo could have never seen coming. When I was watching Moner's time back, the replay video, when I was watching it back, I noticed, like, it hit me that in the barrel, if you were slightly faster than him, you could take the most left turn boost panel every time and not sway to the right in the barrel, which is what Moner does. Like, not only is swaying off slower because it's not a straight line, but you're also turning against the barrel, which is turning right to left. You're turning against it. You need to be incredibly fast to even attempt it. If you are, like, the slower you are, the higher the boost pad is, and the more impossible it becomes to do the left boost pad 3 times in a row. But it is also incredibly precise, because there's a weird, like, quirk in the physics engine where there's an equilibrium where the higher you are in the barrel, the faster you go. But if you go too high, the game says, okay, you've had your fun, I'm pushing you back down. So you had to find that equilibrium. Like, I had to be the first person to find that. So that was difficult. But
yeah, I bet.
but the time saved from doing that was so much that you could still make mistakes and get the world record. Like, it was just a matter of doing it, getting it to work, and I could beat Moner before Diogo. And on June 23rd, 2014, I was doing very good runs. I was feeling good about it, which was a first, and Diogo was reporting very good runs too. I had only ever done one good attempt at this new strat once, and it didn't quite work. But that day I was on a good pace. I was feeling good, and I decided to go for it. So I did it. I got shot out of the barrel at a very awkward angle, which still consists to this day if you do it. But I stayed like somewhat calm and collected. My heart rate was 160 and I wasn't breathing, which happens when I'm on a good run. I stopped breathing. I made some mistakes, but still got the world record and popped off. But if you look at the replay, right before the final shortcut, I was so far ahead of my ghost. Like being so far ahead of my ghost on world record level hadn't been seen until the very early days of this track. I beat Moner with 136.261, which is 12 milliseconds ahead. And then 6 hours later, Diogo announced that he beat Moner with a 136.267, which is 6 milliseconds ahead. I won the war. And I announced that I wasn't playing Rainbow Road. I wasn't playing the game anymore. Diogo announced that he was not playing Rainbow Road anymore, and Moner, we already knew he was not playing Rainbow Road anymore. But after a year of no competition, and not playing, my hands started, aching a little, and I started playing again. That started the last world record streak, and it went from there slowly but surely around the 163, the 0.163 record. I started realizing slowly that you could eventually get the sub if I just slowly kept improving on everything. And eventually it happened, the 135.996. I was happy, I announced it to the world, and I quit playing the game for good.
And who can blame you? That's a perfect way to end your Mario Kart 7 tenure. So thank you very much for going to that much detail, especially about the beginnings, because I had no idea that Diogo had that much animosity towards Minar. And I knew that you two were definitely competing for world record, and I definitely knew that Diogo eventually got the 267, which that was very interesting. I was genuinely curious if Diogo would maybe was playing around with you, lying to you in some way, and he may have said, "I'm not. I stopped playing Rainbow Road. Try again one more time," because as you said, in your first world record, it definitely indicated that there was much left to improve, and Diogo knew this too. So you would have thought that he would have been driven to maybe get maybe the first 0.1 at the very least, or just have his name in the record books. But it clearly didn't happen, and I think that's for the better, because you truly deserve to have this record for as long as possible. Why don't you give your quick thoughts on the current world records? So first, Arjon defeated you. He first tied you, actually.
Right.
I believe in January 5th or January 9th, somewhere around there, 2020.
The 4th,
And he had his own world record streak or reign for over a year. He was recently beaten by Rukiu, and Rukiu in particular has demolished him. Current record is like a 135.809 off the top of my head. Maybe wrong by a couple digits, but so what are your quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Arjon did a good job. I'm good friends with him, so I didn't mind that he beat me. It was eventually going to happen because they discovered some new, they discovered what was faster with tool assistant speedruns. Rukyu is a fantastic player. His world record is so incredibly strong. And it uses these new strats. I just find it absolutely amazing. Though there's still some weak things. I remember seeing them, but I can't recall them in section 2 on his run. But it is still absolutely incredible.
Okay, that about wraps up this part of the discussion then, the interview.
Right. So that's phase 2 of the interview. Thank you for going in detail on all your tracks as well. I'm sure people will enjoy hearing the small intricacies and details they've never heard before. So now,
yep, I tried my best to provide as much as I remember. There's just so many though, and obviously I have been playing this game at a top level much longer than most people have, so it was a lot to remember, but it was also it was good to look back fondly at the memories.
So now phase 3 of the interview. Now I'd like to do a little bit of retro aspecting with you. So just going to ask you a little bit about the past. Starting off with some simple questions. Which one of these tracks is your favorite to play and which your least favorite?
I would say Rosalina's Ice World and Bowser's Castle are my top 2 favorite tracks to drive. Particularly with Rosalina's Ice World, because as I mentioned before, when I was defeated by Toad and he was using mushroom tires, that demotivated me, and I stopped caring about the track. And it wasn't until this year where I rediscovered my passion and joy of playing that track. It's really fun. I mean, ignoring how luck-based the shortcut is, I love everything else about the track. And Bowser's Castle, same thing. I don't like the gap shortcut, but everything else besides it, I think it's one of the most satisfying tracks to drive if you know what you're doing. And my least favorite track probably will be Retro Rainbow Road, Waluigi Pinball, and Bowser Castle 1 in no particular order.
And your least favorite one yet you set a world record in?
Set a world record on New Bowser City.
Now, in which one was your favorite to, be a competitor of in the moment? maybe a new strat was discovered? Which did you enjoy in the moment to compete in with others?
I would have to say Maple Treeway on that. Because first Samuel on the glitch version, he was a very fun competitor. We went back and forth for years. And then Endo recently, in 2020, he came along and he kept improving as well. He got the first 213 sub, and at the time we were using all these new strategies. So yeah, I think in general Endo is probably my favorite competitor at the moment, because he's also been challenging me on, or he did challenge me on Cheat Lagoon, for example, as well. So that answers your question.
And is there also a least favorite one you competed in?
I don't know if there's a least favorite that I competed in. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really answer that because I think in general, competition is a good thing. So if I was having challengers on a certain track, I think that would just motivate me to play that track rather than do the opposite. So I guess Down in a Jungle, because I had no competition throughout that year and a half or so. And then when someone did come along, who was Diogo, he came along. Once he defeated me, that was it. I just stopped competing because I couldn't compete anymore. So that's probably my least favorite track that I had competition on, because I just couldn't capitalize on that competition.
Okay. And which new strat or glitch was the most awesome, and which one was the worst and most inconsistent for you?
The best was definitely it's a toss-up between Maple Treeway glitch and Luigi's Mansion glitch. I think out of the two, I would say Luigi's Mansion gets the edge. I can't forget how much I grinded to learn that glitch, and when I got my first 2 out of 2 run, and then I got my first world record on that track, it was, man, it definitely felt like all my hard work paid off. And my least favorite would have to be Koopa Cape glitch, which we didn't even talk about. That's how relevant it was. I did learn the respawn strat, and I also had to do it shroomless. So I did 2 respawns at the very beginning to beat Coco's time. And even after I got the 205, I was still trying to get some improvement, and I failed. Because simply put, the respawn strat was just too annoying and definitely not fun. Just way too precise. If you're off even by just a little bit, you'll fail, and it's just a waste of time at that point. So out of all the tracks that I've learned a strategy on, Koopa Cape glitch
Okay.
is the worst. Yep.
Which tracks will you definitely defend if you lose the record on or a new strat is found? And which one will you not?
So interestingly, out of all the 13 records that I currently have, I still believe that I can defend them. So at the moment, if anyone beats me on any of them, I will strike back. At least I will try to. So if I don't, then that only means that I did give it my all. And during that process, I learned that actually I can't compete. I can't return.
Okay, so absolutely no tracks for now that you will not come back to.
Correct.
So who was the most difficult to beat?
Recently, I would say Fizz on Mario Circuit. I discussed, as we were going through that track's history, that Mario Circuit is, at this point, extremely difficult. It's very precise and technical. There's a lot of things that have to go right, and if they don't go right, you just lose a whole lot of time, and essentially the world record is now impossible, and you have to restart the run. So I was very impressed by Fizz's 157.088, and I knew that defeating it would be a huge task. But I've always enjoyed driving on Mario Circuit. It's definitely maybe like a top 5 track for me. And given my history on it as well, I knew that I could eventually defeat him. And so when I did, I knew that I achieved something very grand, despite missing out on the sub.
Okay. And as a whole, which player is or was your biggest and best competition?
So I did mention Endo recently. He's been a very good competitor, and I have nothing but respect for him. Throughout history, it's hard to say because my name is everywhere, as you know. So I've had many, many competitors over the years. So just off the top of my head, I would say Alexoni on Woohoo Loop. And I think just in general, because at the time I wanted to prove that I was the best, but Alexoni was #1 on the players page rankings.
Right.
So it was definitely there was definitely a dynamic going on there. Other than him, I would say Thomas as well, because my goal for 10 world records, that wasn't a recent goal of mine. That's been a goal of mine since as long as I can remember, maybe in 2013. And so when Thomas came along in 2019 and he suddenly, got 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 records, and then the most he held was 11, which tied the most of all time. That definitely, I was a bit envious of him for doing that, but obviously I have to tip my hat at the end of the day and know that one day that will be me. I'll be on top like that. And so while Thomas kind of stopped playing after 2019, only sporadically getting some records in 2020, I never forgot his dominance, and I wanted to emulate that one day. So indirectly, he's been a competitor as well.
And there was a time when you played Mario Kart 8. Like, why did you play that one? What did you dislike, and what made you stop?
Right. So while I accomplished a lot in Mario Kart 7, back then I didn't want to just play Mario Kart 7. I was still a fan of Mario Kart as a whole, so I was willing to give new games a try. And so that's exactly what I did. I bought Mario Kart 8 on release day, and I started to learn it. And I time traveled TikTok clock, and I don't remember when I got my first record. I believe it was a 151.382, and I continued to improve it over the course of 2.5 years, and I ended on like a 142.4 or something. So the reason why I play TikTok clock is simply because TikTok clock is my favorite track. I played Mario Kart DS when that game was brand new, and even as a kid, I loved TikTok clock more than any other track. So that's basically why I decided to play TikTok clock. And when I wasn't defeated early on, because first Jack was a dominant player, and then Diogo came along, and he completely destroyed not only the players page but also the world record rankings. He was everywhere in that game.
Yeah.
But Tic Tac Clock was one of the tracks that he didn't defeat me on, and so I was like, all right, I have something here. I can actually leave a long-lasting impression on this game and its history. And so that's what I was motivated by. I just wanted to continue extending my legacy, you could say, on that game. Now, by maybe like mid or early 2015, so maybe like April to June 2015, that was when motion controls and D-pad were kind of discovered to be completely broken.
Right.
And at that point, I knew that I was on borrowed time, and it also destroyed any prior enjoyment that I had of the game. I wanted to get defeated as soon as possible, so that way I could say, all right, that's it. I walk away and I return to Mario Kart 7. And surprisingly, that didn't happen for like another year and a half. So when it did, I was ready to put that game down forever. And that's exactly what I did. I haven't looked back since. Don't really look back on that game too happily because I didn't have many friends. I was kind of just playing on my own. And by the end, it was just such a drag to play Tic Tac Clock, knowing that all the effort that I was putting into it was for nothing because I wasn't adapting to the meta, you could say.
Right. And so you played Mario Kart 8, but Mario Kart 7 is really the game to play. Like, what makes it the game to play for you?
I would just say the driving of the game. It's like no other. It's very pure. And because of that, it makes it very fulfilling to be the best at that game in particular. Like, I understand, like, all the other games, such as Mario Kart DS, notoriously has snaking, and that's obviously very, very impressive. Anyone who's a master of that, all those records are, they definitely blow my mind, for sure. But I just think Mario Kart 7 really has an emphasis on the driving aspect, and tracks like Woohoo Loop and Toad Circuit, and even tracks like Mario Circuit 2, they really highlight that. So out of anything about Mario Kart 7, I would just say the driving. And I also want to mention the glider. I just feel like it's very natural in this game. Even though the glider boost kind of doesn't make sense realistically, I still think that diving down with the glider and doing the glider bounce, it all just feels like the glider bounce maintains momentum, and that kind of makes sense because you're maintaining the glider. So I just think anything about the glider is also like, I enjoy it. I don't enjoy failing the glider boost or glider bounce, but I do enjoy the glider itself. And so I just think the game is very fun and balanced in that way.
Right, so the answer for me would be that I think like Mario Kart Wii is like the best game to it feels as the best to play, and it looks like the most amazing to play. Like the physics engine of that game gives like rules and restrictions, but you can stretch those so far. Like for like perfect examples are the Rainbow Road cards, Moon Jump, and the Wario's Gold Mine glitch. Like it's within the rules of the game, but it's so stretched so far to look so amazing to like a casual player. And I think they translated all of that, like they narrowed it down, dumped it down a bit perfectly for a handheld console like the 3DS for Mario Kart 7. I think they did a very good job with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. That's a very good point.
Any other players that you have big respect for? Maybe a competitor or anything?
Regardless of how I feel towards the player, like not necessarily a personal level, but maybe just their general attitude is something that I don't necessarily agree with. Um, but I think all the world record holders in this game, past and present, deserve some type of respect. Because at the end of the day, this game is nothing more than just a hobby to everyone. We're not getting paid. Um, we have to sacrifice real life responsibilities in order to play this game. It takes hours over the course of days and weeks to get world records. And so, just from speaking as a player to all players, you have my respects.
Okay, the second to last question. So, if you look at the Mario Kart Wii or the Mario Kart World Records website, and you go to the total number of tracks with a world record, you're there in second place with world records on 21 different tracks. And Mick is on there with 26 different tracks now. He's played a lot in the early days. Are you ever aiming for that number one spot on that list?
Yes and no. No, because I don't expect to ever be a world record holder on 5 other tracks. I don't even know where to begin. Cheat Lagoon was already a massive surprise to me, and DK Jungle Glitch was a fluke because of a new discovery. So if there's any more discoveries, then sure, maybe I can take advantage of that and be a world record holder again for less than a day. I could, I do want to get to a point where I am satisfied with all my current records, and that leaves me with no choice but to play new tracks and learn new tracks. And so I always will believe in myself that if I really put my heart and soul into a track, that I can get the world record on. But at the moment, it's definitely not a goal of mine. But yes, it is a goal, as it is the last statistic on Mario Kart world records that I'm not number one on. Although at the same time, we both know that as much as Mick was a fantastic player at the time, it was during the early days, as you said, and that just meant that all the world records at the time were very weak and people were still learning the game, and that's why he managed to etch his name on so many tracks.
So I specifically chose that one because it was the last statistic. Now, the final question of phase 3, and you can be as humble or as unhumble as you want on this question, but I'd like to know, do you think that you are the greatest of all time in Mario Kart 7, or would you hand that title to someone else?
So I'm going to just answer, it depends on your definition of greatest of all time. According to my definition, I absolutely am. I think in order to be the greatest of all time, you not only have to be the best at some point, but you have to have an influence and an impact for over the course of many, many years. Like, there's no one else from the 2012 era who's currently playing this game at a top level. There just isn't. Name one other player. I just think by that alone, and the fact that I currently hold as many records as I do, and that's never stopped. I've never had 0 world records since 2012, September 2012. I think considering all that, as well as I am in the lounge server for Mario Kart 7, which is basically competitive online, and I have reached Grand Master rank in that. Now, online is, let's just say it's luck based. There is skill involved, but when you're at the top level in that online, it definitely just boils down to luck. So it's not something that I am bragging about, but it's just another little tidbit. Like, in addition to being really good at time trials, I'm also really good online, one of the best. There's really nothing that I haven't done in this game, except for joining the players page rank and I guess being number one overall on average. But to me, I don't think being number one on average means as much. And I think my point is supported right now because Alpha is the current champion and he only has one world record in this game. Now, he can obviously get a lot more. I'm not questioning that. But I just think it's kind of silly that you can be the champion of the players page and only have one world record to your name. I just think that's a bit ridiculous. So again, it depends. If you're asking someone else who values the players page a lot more, then they're going to say Alpha is, or Weiss was the best, or Diogo was the best and the greatest of all time. But to me, I valued and always will value the world records more. And so just by looking at those statistics, I'm the best.
All right, everyone. That was the last question of phase 3. So we've looked at the game retro aspecting. Now I'd like to ask some last few questions about going forward. So, which tracks are you interested in playing in the future, like returning to, or completely new tracks to start playing?
All right, I'm just going to answer what I am most interested in playing besides my current records. Because there's no doubt that I will return to those tracks at some point. It's just a matter of when I have the free time or when I actually have some motivation through competition, for example. So some new tracks that I want to give a try would be, I would say, DK Pass or Coconut Mall. That is a track I do want to return to at some point. Let's see, off the top of my head, Makawoohoo. I did recently play Makawoohoo. I don't think I have potential for world record, but never say never. I certainly have potential for 125 currently, but I just ran out of time, so I haven't been playing Makawoohoo. But that is a track that I would love to play, both the no glitch and glitch. And maybe Rock Mountain as well, question mark. So yeah, those are a few off the top of my head that I can think of. Luigi Raceway as well. That's another one that I am not satisfied with my current time. Don't think I can get the world record on that either. But so all those tracks that I named, it's a possibility because again, I gotta believe in myself, and if I'm the best as I claim I am, then if I really give all my effort, then I can get the world record on those tracks. But those are some of the tracks I don't mind playing, whether I get the world record or not. I just want to try them.
And are there any you are definitely skipping for now?
So the ones I mentioned that were my least favorite, skipping those. Skipping Down Jungle, and skipping Mario Circuit 2, skipping Airship Fortress. Both of those because of mushroom tires. I just don't like mushroom tires. Mario Circuit 2 in particular, you have to give credit where credit's due to Yassine and any past record holder on that track since the wall ride strat was discovered. I just don't like that at all. And it's very precise. You have to stay on the wall and not lose your speed by turning. And so, man, I mean, I out of all the records that I'm impressed by that isn't my own, I would say that one, Mario Circuit 2. But that just makes my decision a lot easier to never play it. Because if I don't see any potential in myself, then those are the tracks I'm going to skip. But the ones I named in particular are like the ones that I absolutely will always get to say, nope, never touching those tracks.
And is there any like ultimate goal you are aiming for that you like the like Daniel Burbank getting all 32 world records at the same time, though in a bit of a shady way, but are there any goals like that for you?
No. I don't have those goals because I think it's just unrealistic. And overall, I've already done everything that I set my eyes on. I think getting 13 and at one point holding 14 world records was already a lot more than I could have ever imagined. So at this point, I'm just playing, just to play the game. I'll play whenever I feel like it and whenever I have some time, and we'll just see what goes from there. More than anything, I just want to continue to play. Because while I don't think anyone's going to forget me 10 years from now, I still want to be someone to be reckoned with 10 years from now, and maybe 15 years from now, 20 years from now. As long as my health allows me to play this game, I still want to keep playing this game. So it wouldn't be like Dan, where he managed to get all 32 records. But it would be more of a case of, say, KVD from Super Mario Kart, how he's been playing that game at a top level for close to 2 decades now. That's who I want to... That's the person I aspire to be. I want to be that player that still manages to pull out a world record or two every single year for X amount of years, as long as I can do it.
Right, and funny thing, I've actually met KVD, and
very cool.
And there was actually an emergency where I was stuck somewhere in a town, and I was able to crash in his house on the couch.
Well, did you witness his greatness? Did he time travel to Mario Kart?
No, I had to leave for work the next morning.
Man. You should have begged him.
I don't think he was awake when I had to leave. Like I was stuck on a Sunday. Okay. So what are your thoughts on tool-assisted speedruns for Mario Kart 7 right now?
It's kind of a mixed bag. I think they're interesting. Just saying truly how far can the track be pushed? How much lower can the time go? So while it's obviously very compelling stuff, I don't know. It's in a way it kind of. What I'm about to say is definitely not true. I don't think anyone believes this for a second, but I do just have a gut instinct that a tool-assisted speedrun kind of takes away from the RTA accomplishments. And I'm just going to say that, for example, Endo's channel has grown not only in terms of audience, but in terms of his subscribers on YouTube. because of tool assisted speedruns. His TASs are gaining like tens of thousands of views, and meanwhile, world record holders such as myself and anyone that you can name, maybe like Ruku, for example, or Fizz, they don't get nearly as many views. They don't get nearly as much attention, and I think that they deserve that attention. If tens of thousands of people can watch a Taz, where are they supporting our current world record holders? So it's strange. So in a way, a Taz is a way to evolve the community, and it definitely is a way to satisfy a curiosity as far as like how much lower can a track go. But at the same time, it kind of takes away from our efforts.
Yeah, so I've noticed that Taz runs for Mario Kart, particularly Mario Kart Wii, like it gets a different audience, and definitely for Mario Kart 7, we're at the start of tool assisted speedrun, so it's a new hype. So that's part of the reason why it gets so many views compared to RTA runs right now.
Yeah, because in Mario Kart Wii, they have they have their own dedicated channel, but even some guys like Luke, they're still getting like a few thousand views for their world records, and so it's not the same in that game, for sure. There's kind of more of a balance, but there's still some Tazes in Mario Kart Wii that completely follow the hype train, you can say, because of their amazing feat. Like, for example, say Rainbow Road Glitch, 3 out of 3. I'm pretty sure that video has maybe close to 100,000 views. I don't really remember, but I think it gained a lot. And I just think that's always going to be true no matter how old or new Tazzing is.
All right, so next question. Are there any set conditions in your mind for when you will stop competitive gaming? Like maybe when you're bored, when your hands start giving out? That's a valid reason for a lot of people. Or
that's
when you get into a serious relationship, or like an 80-hour work week consistently, and then you stop. Is there anything like that?
Yep, most definitely. You need your health, and you need some free time. And if real life is eating up too much of that, if you have too many priorities that you can't avoid, then obviously your playtime is going to decrease. And for a lot of people, it's to a point where they are forced to just quit altogether. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know my future. Based on what I'm currently doing, my activity has already decreased by a bit, but it's by no means am I stopping anytime soon. So unless something completely horrific happens, I do plan to stay for as long as I can.
Okay, so for me, I've already started to stop playing competitively. It's just Rainbow Road drained me so much from that competitive drive. There's like nothing I feel like competing in anymore. But I'm still in the Mario Kart community and the fighting game community. Like particular at like if you see them as separate bubbles. I'm not insinuating anything with that. But if you see them as separate bubbles, I'm like on the edge, like oh hey, a new tool assisted run, or oh hey, you're working on that world record. Well, good luck. Like I'm still actively involved doing that, and I'll continue to do that for a long time with also the fighting game community. But I think if I get okay, it's gonna be weird to say, but I'm a very religious Indian man, and if I start dating long term a religious Indian woman, then I'm gonna face that slowly out, like definitely, like to the point that I'm not on Discord anymore. But that's probably a few years away. But until then, you guys can enjoy talking to me.
It's a good thing we did this interview then.
Yeah.
What if we waited a couple years longer and then you actually found the girl of your dreams and you're no longer here? So
Well, she
Yeah,
got it.
absolutely, man. I think in particular with the relationship, and if you do end up having kids one day, those kids are going to be your life, not this community, not games. You're gonna be playing games with that kid more than anything.
Right. So the final three questions. These are gonna have like very little to do with the game actually. But how, like, are you proud of what you have achieved so far? Is there anything you can describe that proudness by?
It's kind of hard for me to praise myself to that degree and say like I'm a huge success and I'm super proud of myself. I mean, I haven't gotten into any trouble, and I've done everything that's socially acceptable, and I've graduated from university, and I did eventually find a job, and I'm currently working, and I'm obviously very proud of all that. But at the same time, my work is baby steps. Um, it's definitely not a permanent job, but at the same time, I'm not in any rush to grow and evolve, you can say. Um, so I think in order to make my mom um, not make her sad, or to not have her like rebuke what I'm about, like I don't want her to rebuke me saying that I am a failure or I'm not proud of myself. Out of anyone who can convince me that I have everything to be proud of, it would be my mother. And so just thinking about what she would say to me in case I ever doubted my success, then yes, I am very proud of what I've done.
And of
Not just
course,
in this game, but just in life in general. Got to be happy and got to continue to be happy.
yeah, and of course, I wanted to say, obviously, you are proud of what you've done in the game. That was going to be the next question, but
Oh yeah,
you are obviously.
yeah.
So,
I definitely alluded to that already when I mentioned talking about, I believe, the greatest of all time question. I kind of mentioned that somewhere in this interview. I mentioned it. It was the question about Dan as well. That I don't really plan to go for all the tracks because I'm already super happy about what I've currently done. I mean, man, 13 world records. I mean, it still kind of numbs me whenever I think about it.
we've been through 7 or 10 years of Mario Kart 7. What's your message to the community?
I would say to the community to always uphold integrity. We should always strive to continue to evolve, and we want to ensure that not only everyone is welcome, but everyone can compete knowing that it is fair, knowing that everyone else is following the same rules, knowing that every single world record in the future is legitimate and real. And by knowing that they're all real, we can all appreciate everyone's achievements. So we can all appreciate everyone's achievements even more. And so that would be my just brief advice and general hopes that that's the direction I want the community to follow.
Yeah, my message to the community would just be, you guys got me through the last years of high school, where I had, like a lot of the people from middle school, I didn't, like, they weren't there anymore. The school system in my country is a little bit weird, but the people I went to middle school with weren't there anymore, and that's normal. But you guys got me through that without, those people being there anymore. So thank you all for that. Now, the last question. What's your message to the person that will look at this and maybe become the greatest of all time at a speed game? Do you have anything to say to that person, that future person?
If you have dreams, then don't ever give up on them. That would be what I say to everyone. not just in terms of speedrunning, but in life in general. Speedrunning in particular, you need to have those dreams, and you need to always persevere through them. Never stop believing in yourself, and just continue to push through, because as long as you do that, eventually your dreams will be realized.
Right, and for me, my message to you, future person, is while you do that, stay healthy, exercise, eat good food, and get out in the sun, and you will achieve those dreams even faster, trust me.
Yep, of course. Absolutely. We don't want to become too invested into a dream that isn't related to real life. You want to say, some speedrunners are, streaming on Twitch, for example, and they have large audiences and they're making some money off of that. But it's not the same. You should definitely never forget to go outside, enjoy this beautiful life, and surround yourself with beautiful people.
Right. And I think that's a good point to end this interview on. So, Jacob, I'd like to thank you very much for talking to me, talking to the audience, and we will leave on this note. So, see you all next time on another video I'll be making later in the year, I hope. Goodbye, everyone, and Jacob, you can also say goodbye.
Yep. I just want to say goodbye. Thank you for inviting me to do this interview. This was my suggestion, and I knew that this would mean that you have a lot of editing to do and a lot of work to do to make this as much of a quality as it can be, and so I appreciate that. And I do want to just give shout outs and love to all my friends out there. You know who you are. And I did forget to mention you guys. Without you, I don't know where I would be in life. You helped me through the most difficult parts of my life during a time where I felt very alone, and I had nothing but darkness accompany me. But you guys were all the light, and in a way, playing this game and setting some world records and still proving to myself that I can do something if I put my heart into it. That translates to life, and it took me a while, but eventually I realized that, and here I am, a much better person than I ever was before. So thank you all.
All right, this is Gogoku and Jacob signing out.